The air was filled with smoke, firelight dancing off broken metal and scattered bones. Above, the sky glowed. Red plasma rounds flew across the clouds like lightning. On the ruined streets of the trading outpost known as Grath 7, chaos ruled. But in the corner of a black market tent, hidden beneath a dirty sheet of tarp and forgotten furniture, something tiny stared out through rusted bars. She was no taller than a human's hand. Her skin was soft blue, her eyes huge and glowing faintly. Silver in the darkness. She crouched in a birdcage meant for pets, once made for colorful parrots from Earth, now repurposed as a prison. Around her ankle, a metal ring buzzed with a faint pulse. It was not just a cage, it was a tracker, a shock collar, and a seal of ownership. She didn't remember her name anymore. The merchants who bought and sold her called her Item 334. Some joked and called her Featherless Pet. They poked her with sticks. They poured strange liquids into her cage and laughed when she screamed. She had long since stopped hoping. She stayed quiet, curled up, hidden in the shadows of her tiny prison, waiting for the end outside. The war was not supposed to reach Grath 7, but someone had broken the rules. He didn't look like a warrior. He walked with a limp and had a crooked scar across one eyebrow. His coat was stitched together from 3 different uniforms. But he was human, and humans weren't supposed to be here anymore. Not after the Treaty of Red Dust. Not after the incident at Sorrel-9. Still, here he was, walking boldly through the marketplace ruins, his boots crunching shattered glass. His name was Jace. He had a pistol on one hip, a deck of strange metal cards on the other, and a look in his eye like he had nothing to lose. He didn't come to fight, he came to play. The last functioning stall at the end of the alley was run by a massive, foul-smelling slug creature named Virex. Half merchant, half smuggler, Virex had made a fortune selling illegal pets, living weapons, and cursed relics. His tent was the only one still lit with lanterns, guarded by 2 insectoid brutes with spears and dead eyes. Jace stopped in front of the tent. His fingers brushed the metal cards at his side. "I heard you're holding something rare," Jace said calmly. Vorrx licked his teeth. "Many rare things. Too many to list." Jace pulled out a single coin. It was ancient, human minted, glowing faintly gold under the lamplight. "I'd gamble for one." Virex's eyes narrowed. "What do you want?" Jace didn't answer right away. His eyes scanned the clutter inside the tent. Weapons, bones, rusty tools. Then he saw the cage. The tiny girl was curled up in the corner of it, barely moving, but her eyes opened at that moment and locked with his. She flinched. He didn't. "That one," Jace said. Vorrx barked a laugh. "The bug in the cage? Worthless. No speech, no wings, no bite. I keep her for decoration." "I want her," Jace replied. "My coin versus your cage. 1 round." Virex was curious now. The slug leaned forward, slimy tendrils twitching. 1 round, 1 draw? 1 card. Each, Jace nodded. High wins. The crowd that had gathered was silent. War might rage beyond the walls, but here, in this moment, it was all about luck and nerve. Vorrx hissed and slapped his own deck on the table. "Shuffle," he growled. They drew. The slug revealed his card, the Blade of Galactic. A high-ranking card. Almost unbeatable. Almost. Jace flipped his card. It was blank. The slug sneered. "You lose," but Jace smiled. "No," he said softly. "This is the ghost card. Hidden, silent, unreadable. It beats everything, if you believe it exists." Virex paused, then roared in laughter. "You lie." "Maybe," Jace said, standing. Slowly. "But what's more exciting? Keeping a pet or betting you're wrong?" the crowd murmured. Some gasp.vorrx single quotes s expression soured. But his pride was baited. Take her, human, the slug spat. But if you cheat me, I will skin you in your sleep. Jay stepped forward and gently lifted the tiny cage. The girl inside did not speak, but her eyes, those large, silver eyes, didn't look afraid anymore. The moment Jace carried the cage away, the crowd started to whisper. Some thought he was a fool. Others watched with quiet interest. But no one followed. The war outside the outpost kept most people busy trying to survive. A single human carrying a tiny alien girl didn't matter to them. Jace walked fast, staying in the shadows. The cage rattled in his hands. He looked down once and saw her staring back at him, still silent, still curled up, but now she was watching. Everything. She wasn't just scared. She was thinking. When he reached his ship, he didn't open the cage right away. The ship rust wing was old, patched with mismatched metal, but it still flew. Inside, the lights flickered weakly, and the air smelled like burnt circuits. Jace placed the cage on a padded chair. He grabbed a screwdriver and slowly approached the lock. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said softly, his voice different. Now gentler, calmer. The girl didn't move. The collar around her ankle buzzed once as he touched the cage. He frowned. Tracker. "Figures," he muttered. He opened the drawer, took out a small EMP pin, and clicked it close to the lock. There was a crackle of blue sparks. The cage popped open with a creak, and the ankle ring released with a small hiss. Still, she didn't move. Jace sat down across from her. "You're free now?" she blinked. Slowly, carefully, she stepped out of the cage. Her legs were weak. She fell, but caught herself with her small hands. She looked around the ship confused. She turned her glowing eyes back to him, as if waiting for instructions. "I'm not your master," Jay said. "I don't own you." She pointed to herself, then made a tiny squeaking sound. It wasn't a language he knew. He raised his hand and pointed at her gently. "What's your name?" She tilted her head. Then, she placed a hand over her chest and whispered something so soft it sounded like wind. "Lena?" Jace repeated. She nodded once. "Okay, Lena." He stood up and reached for a small box of rations. "You hungry?" Her eyes locked onto the box. Her tiny body shook slightly. She was starving. He opened it and placed down a soft fruit bar. She sniffed it, then bit into it so fast he nearly missed it. She devoured the whole thing in seconds. She looked at him again, wide-eyed, unsure what came next. Jay sat beside her and leaned back. "We're heading out soon." "I don't know where yet. Somewhere safe." Lena looked at the empty cage. Then she walked over to it and kicked it. Jace raised an eyebrow, surprised. She kicked it again, this time with more force, even though she was tiny and weak. Her hands clenched into fists. Her breath grew heavy. Her whole body trembled. Then she screamed. It wasn't a loud scream, but it was sharp, high, filled with pain, fear, and fury. It lasted only a second. Then she collapsed to the floor and cried silently. Jace moved toward her slowly, lowering himself beside her. He didn't speak. He didn't touch her. He just sat there. After a few minutes, her breathing slowed. She wiped her tears with the back of her small hand. "You're safe now," Jace said again. She looked up and nodded weakly. That night, Jace gave her a soft patch of cloth to sleep on and covered her with a clean sock, folded like a blanket. She slept curled up, still cautious, but no longer locked in metal. The next day, the outpost exploded. Jace had left just in time. On the screen, news buzzed about an unknown ship firing into the market, wiping out Verex's tent and killing dozens. The slug merchant was presumed dead. The attack was marked as part of a growing pirate war. Lena stood on the control panel, watching the screen. She pointed at it, then she looked at Jace. "Gone," he said. "You're never going back there." She stared for a while, then walked to the edge of the console and held up her arms. Jace blinked. "You want up?" She nodded. He picked her up gently. She was light, so light it felt like lifting a feather. She sat on his shoulder. Then she leaned her small head against the side of his neck. That was the first time she smiled. Jace smiled too, though he wasn't sure why, but he knew one thing. She had lived in a cage, forgotten and broken. Now she had someone to stand beside, and someone might already be looking to take her back. 3 days after the rescue, Rustwing drifted through the star lanes in silent travel. Jace had turned off most ship systems to stay hidden. He didn't trust that Vurex was truly dead. A slug that Rich always had backup plans and dirty friends. Lena had started to change. She no longer sat in one corner like a frightened pet. She explored the ship now. She climbed shelves, peeked into drawers, and watched Jace with deep curiosity. She rarely spoke, only offering soft squeaks or strange sounds. But her eyes, her bright silver eyes, understood everything. One evening, Jace was fixing the nav core when he heard a quiet chirp behind him. He turned and saw Lena holding a wire in her tiny hands. "Where'd you get that?" he asked. She pointed up to the open panel, then pointed at the wrong connector. "You saying I wired it wrong?" he said with a grin. She nodded seriously. He raised an eyebrow. "All right then, show me." To his surprise, Lena crawled into the panel, balanced on a ledge, and with her small fingers, pulled out the wrong wire and reattached it to a different port. When she finished, the system lights blinked green. The nav core came back online. Jace stared. "How do you know ship systems?" Lena looked at him, then tapped her head. She mimed typing, then made a zapping sound and winced as if remembering pain. "You were forced to work on machines, weren't you?" he guessed. She didn't answer, but her face said enough. That night, Jace started giving her real tasks. Small things: cleaning the connectors, watching power levels, replacing cooling rods with tweezers. She was focused, fast, and careful, and she always smiled when she finished something right. But peace never lasted long in deep space. It started with a ping. An incoming signal, short, encrypted, and old school. Someone was using pirate code. Jace picked it up on the backup scanner. Then came the voice. "This is Captain Thorin of the Bloodhook. I know you're out there, Rustwing. We tracked your jump signature. Return the merchandise. No tricks. Number. Games." Jace's stomach turned. They want her back. Lena, standing on the edge of the console, looked at him sharply. She had heard everything. Her expression turned hard. "I'm not giving you to them," Jace said. She nodded. She already knew, but the Bloodhook wasn't a normal ship. It was a hunter-class vessel 20 times the size of Rustwing and built for one thing: capturing what ran. Jace fired up the engines. Rustwing roared to life, shields flickering online. Lena jumped onto her seat and strapped herself in with a cord she had tied together herself. They shot forward, boosting toward the asteroid field near the dead moon of 05. It was risky. The ship could be torn apart by stray rocks, but it was better than being caught. The Bloodhook followed. Red lasers flashed across the darkness. One scraped Rustwing's wing, burning part of the hull. Jace cursed and twisted the controls, dodging between sharp stones and broken ice. Lena held on to the console, eyes wide, but calm. She wasn't afraid anymore. She was focused. Suddenly, a screen popped up in front of Jace. "Warning, power core overheating. I can't cool it from here." Jace shouted. Lena didn't wait. She jumped down and dashed into the narrow maintenance tunnel. Her size let her reach places Jace couldn't. She squeezed past broken fans, found the coolant port, and yanked it open with a wrench. Half her size. Steam hissed out. Blue mist filled the chamber. Lena coughed but stayed put, tightening the valve. The power levels dropped back to green. Jace, he saw it on his screen. You did it, he yelled, but Lena wasn't answering. He grabbed a mask and rushed to the back. She was lying on the floor, breathing hard. The heat had drained her. She was soaked with sweat and shivering. Jace knelt beside her. You didn't have to do that. She reached up weakly and touched his face. Then she smiled. He carried her back to the cockpit and laid her on a warm cloth. She curled into it and closed her eyes. Outside, the asteroids thickened. Jace flew into a narrow crevice between two massive rocks. The Bloodhook couldn't follow. It was too big. The enemy ship circled, scanning, but couldn't find them. After a while, it turned and vanished into the void. They were safe for now. Jace looked down at Lena sleeping beside him. She wasn't just a rescued pet anymore. She was crew, and maybe something even more important. Asterisk. The silence after the chase was deep. Jace didn't move from the cockpit for hours. He kept watching the scanner, waiting for the Bloodhook to return. But nothing came. Only the slow drift of asteroids and the hum of his ship. Lena slept beside him, wrapped in a soft cloth. Her tiny body rose and fell with each breath. She had risked her life for him and the ship. No hesitation. No fear. When she finally stirred, her first word was a question. Safe? Jace smiled. Yeah, for now. She nodded, then sat up. Her small legs still trembled, but her eyes were sharp. She was healing fast. The next few days were quiet. They stayed hidden in the asteroid field. Jace took time to repair the hull. Lena worked beside him, cleaning wires and fixing joints with her tiny tools. She even made her own harness so she could hang upside down to reach high places. It wasn't just her skills that surprised him. It was how quickly she learned. One night, Jace taught her how to say engine, core, and shield. She repeated the words in a soft voice, her accent strange but charming. Then she taught him her words for those things. Her language was musical, full of soft hums and clicks. By the end of the night, they could understand each other, at least a little. But Jace knew hiding wouldn't last forever. Varex might be dead, but the Bloodhook was still hunting. And Lena's kind, whatever species she came from, seemed rare. Maybe even extinct. He had to find out more. So Jace made a plan. They would visit an old friend, a hacker and archivist who owed him a favor. Her name was Jella. They jumped through 2 sectors, flew past a blackened war zone, and reached a derelict moon station covered in junk and old satellites. Jella lived in a tower built from scrap, glowing with mismatched lights. When Rustwing landed, the door opened before they even knocked. Jace, Jella said, standing in the doorway with a smirk. You're not dead yet? Not yet, Jace replied. But give it time. She noticed the small figure hiding behind his shoulder. Who's the toy? She's not a toy, Jace said firmly. She's someone I rescued, and I need your help. Inside, the room was packed with screens, wires, and floating data drives. Jella was already typing. What do you want to know? Who she is, where she came from, why they want her. Jace placed Lena gently on the table. Jella raised an eyebrow. She's alive? Lena stood up straight and nodded. Gela blinked. Okay, that's creepy and cute at the same time. She scanned Lena with a harmless blue beam. The computer beeped, word, then went silent. Jella frowned. That's weird. Her species tag is missing. Missing? Jace asked. It's like someone deleted her entire history, Jella said. But wait, she clicked deeper. A hidden file popped up. Corrupted, but still holding something. A name, Jella whispered. Zelini. Thought they were a myth. Jace leaned closer. Myth? Yeah, miniature sentient species, one of the oldest. Long before the Federation. People say they could interface directly with machines, live inside ships. But they disappeared. Ages ago. Some say they were hunted to extinction. Lena looked down slowly, her small hands clenched. So she's the last? Jace asked. Maybe, Jella said. If the wrong people find out, they already have, Jace cut in. We've been chased. Jella pulled a chip from her system. Take this. It has the original data. Keep it safe. And don't trust anyone. Jace nodded and slipped the chip into his coat. Lena tapped the screen with her finger. A 3D image of her species appeared slightly taller than her, wearing small robes, working inside glowing machines. She touched the face, then looked away. That night, they left Jella's station. As the ship lifted off, Lena didn't speak. She just sat quietly, her eyes full of something deeper than sadness. Jace sat beside her. You're not a myth, he said. You're real. And you matter. She looked up at him. Then, slowly, she reached into a pouch she had made from spare cloth. Inside, she pulled out a tiny crystal. She placed it in his hand. Jace studied it. It pulsed with soft blue light. What is it? Lena pointed to her chest. Heart? She shook her head. Then, she pointed to the engine. Jace stared. You are connected to the ship? She nodded. And smiled. The small crystal glowed gently in Jace's palm. It pulsed in rhythm with the hum of the Rustwing's engine. He didn't fully understand what it meant, but Lena's calm eyes told him it was important. She pointed again, first to the crystal, then to her chest, and finally to the engine core behind the control deck. Are you saying this is part of you? Jace asked slowly. Lena nodded once. And it powers the ship? Another nod. Jace leaned back in his chair. He didn't know what to think. He had flown hundreds of ships across dozens of systems, but never heard of anyone like her connected to machines, maybe even becoming part of them. He looked at the crystal again, then carefully handed it back to her. Lena held it close and tucked it under the folded cloth she used as her little tunic. She gave him a shy smile and climbed onto his shoulder, her usual place when they flew. Outside the ship, stars stretched like rivers of white light. Inside, Jace's thoughts were heavy. If Jella was right, Lena wasn't just rare, she was hunted. And now that he had that data crystal, someone would come looking again. He needed a plan. A real one. The only person he knew crazy enough and dangerous enough to help was a gambler named Solindar, former pirate, part-time smuggler, full-time cheat. He ran a game hall inside a drifting city built inside the shell of a hollow asteroid called Grimvalt. They set course that night. 2 jumps later, Rustwing approached Grimvalt. The place looked like a broken planet stitched back together by greed. Bright lights flashed from every direction, ships circled like vultures, and the entrance gates were guarded by drones with no patience. Jace kept Lena hidden in a pocket close to his chest as they walked through the crowd. Her size made it easy to carry her secretly, but she kept peeking out, her eyes wide, amazed by the noise and colors. Inside the game hall, smoke and music filled the air. Creatures from every corner of the galaxy laughed, shouted, and slammed. Credits on tables. Card games, dice games, spinning discs. Anything that could be gambled was here. At the center, wearing a golden coat and smoking a pipe full of glowing herbs, sat Solindar. Jace Flint. Solon called out with a grin. Still alive, I see. Barely, Jace said, pulling out a chair. I need help. Solon raised a brow. That sounds expensive. Jace leaned forward. I have something worth more than credits. He pulled out the second data chip, the one Jella gave him. Solon scanned it quickly, then froze. Where did you get this? I rescued her. Jace said, she's with me. Solon's grin faded. You're either incredibly stupid or very lucky. Both, Jace said. Solon's eyes darted around the hall. You realize what you've got, right? Every black market collector, science, syndicate, and warlord in this quadrant would kill for her. The Xyleni were legends. She's not for sale. I'm not buying, Solon said, but others will come. And when they do, they won't ask. That's why I need to disappear. Solon leaned back thinking. There's a place, he said slowly. The Cloak Zone, old mining field surrounded by EMP storms. No scanners work there. No communications either. You go in, you're off the grid. How do I get there? You can't, Solon said. But I can smuggle you close. Jace narrowed his eyes. What's the price? Solon smiled. Game, one hand. You win, I take you there. I win, you leave her with me. Jace didn't move. His jaw tightened. No deal? You sure? Solon's voice dropped. I'm not the worst person who wants her. At least with me, she'll live. Jace stood. She's not a prize. She's my crew. A small voice echoed from Jace's chest pocket. Family. Solon froze. Did she just speak? Lena climbed out, stood on Jace's hand, and looked straight at Solon. She pointed to herself. Lena. Then she pointed to Jace. Home? Solon didn't say anything for a long moment. Then he chuckled. You always find the strangest trouble. Jace, so help me, Solon sighed. Fine, I'll get you close. But after that, you're on your own. Good, Jace said. That's how I prefer it. They left that night. As Rustwing flew through the stars again. Lena stood beside the control screen, watching the path ahead. Jace watched her. She was no longer the girl in a cage. She was choosing her future now. But trouble was still coming, faster than either of them expected. The stars outside Rustwing blurred as the ship entered silent drift. They were close to the Cloak Zone now. Just one more jump and they'd vanish from the system. No trackers, no signals, no trails. Jace sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the dark storm of the Cloak Zone ahead. Lena stood on his console, watching. With him, her silver eyes shimmered in the soft light. We make this jump, he said quietly, and no one can follow us. Lena didn't speak. She simply touched his shoulder as if saying she trusted him. That was enough. But fate didn't care about plans. Just before the final jump, a warning blinked across the ship's screen. Locked. A large vessel had dropped out of subspace behind them. Jace's eyes narrowed. It's the Bloodhook again, he growled. They found us. The screen lit up with an incoming transmission. Jace didn't answer it, but the voice came through anyway. Human, we warned you. Return the creature. This is your last chance. Lena gripped the edge of the console. She wasn't shaking, but her expression was hard. Angry, not afraid. They're not taking you, Jace muttered, flipping switches. We're jumping, ready or not. But the ship shook violently. Something hit them. EMP cannon, Jace shouted. They're trying to fry our core. Lena jumped down and ran to the back. She didn't wait for instructions. She already knew what to do. Inside the engine chamber, the crystal she had shown him earlier had begun to glow brighter, hotter. Blue sparks danced around it. She stepped forward, reached out and touched it. A surge of light ran up her arms. Back in the cockpit, Jace watched as systems that had shut down blinked back online. The jump core restarted. He saw the readings. She's boosting the ship manually, he whispered. Lena's body trembled. Energy passed through her like fire. Her skin glowed faintly. Her heartbeat matched the hum of the ship, and then they jumped. Rustwind vanished into a tunnel of light, leaving the Bloodhook behind in the dead black of space. When they emerged, everything was quiet. The cloak zone surrounded them. Dark clouds of magnetic dust spun slowly around jagged rocks and derelict wrecks. The place looked like a graveyard, but Jace smiled. "We made it," he said, but when he checked on Lena, he stopped smiling. She lay on the floor beside the engine core, still glowing faintly. He ran to her and lifted her into his hand. Her breathing was shallow. Her skin had gone pale. Her eyes were half closed. "No, no, no," Jace whispered. "Don't do this." Lena looked up at him. She forced a small smile. Then she raised her hand, touching the side of his face. "Safe? Now?" she whispered. Then her eyes closed. She didn't move. Jace felt his throat tighten. "Lena?" No answer. He rushed her to the med kit. But it wasn't built for someone her size. His hands trembled as he wrapped her in a heated cloth, placed her near the ship's energy core for warmth, and checked every system he could. Nothing worked. He sat beside her, silent. The one soul who had trusted him, believed in him, had burned herself out to save him. Minutes passed. Then her fingers twitched. Jace gasped. She coughed once. Her eyes fluttered open. Her glow faded back to soft blue. "You're alive," he whispered. She blinked at him, confused. Then she smiled again. Jace laughed, a real laugh full of relief. "You scared me, you little lightning bug," she made. A weak chirp that almost sounded like a giggle. Later that night, as she rested, Jace looked out at the cloak zone. They were safe for now. No one could track them here. No one would dare enter without a death wish. But they couldn't stay forever. He knew that. And Lena knew it too. She climbed up onto his shoulder, sat quietly, and looked at the stars. Then she pointed ahead. "You want to go forward?" Jace asked. She nodded. "You're crazy," he muttered with a smile. "But all right, we move forward." Lena stood, one hand on his head like a captain on her ship. Together, they watched the quiet void stretch out before them, but deep inside the wreckage of the cloak zone, something else watched them too. A dormant ship, a hidden signal, a forgotten part of Lena's past, about to wake up. The cloak zone was silent, too silent. Jace had spent days repairing Rustwing and letting Lena rest. Her strength was returning, and so was her spark. She was laughing more now, building tiny tools, and even painting little symbols across the walls of the ship with colored wires. But the piece wouldn't last. Not after what they found had happened while scanning for fuel traces. One of the wrecks hidden in the zone didn't look like any normal ship. It was ancient, its hull shaped like a curve of bone, its lights dim but still pulsing. Lena saw it first. She froze. Her whole body went still, her eyes locked on the shape on the screen. "You know that ship?" Jace asked. She nodded slowly. Then, for the first time, she spoke more than one word. "Zeleni vessel, hardcore ship, my home." Jace blinked. "That's your kind ship? From before?" She nodded again, more firmly this time. "Is there anything alive inside?" She shrugged, unsure, but Jace could see something had changed. A fire lit inside her now. Curiosity. Hope. So they went. Rustwing drifted close and docked with the ancient vessel. Jace brought a suit and a handlight. Lena didn't need one. Her small body moved easily through the narrow halls of the forgotten ship. Inside, everything was quiet. There were no bodies, no lights. Only the faint hum of a machine still beating somewhere deep in the center. As they reached the control chamber, Jace saw it. A crystal much like Lena's glowing softly in the core. Lena stepped forward. Her feet were light, her breath steady. She placed her tiny hand on the crystal. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ship came alive. Lights flashed across the floor. Walls lit up with glowing patterns. Symbols danced in the air. And a voice echoed softly. Zelini's signature recognized. Welcome home. Jace's jaw dropped. Lena turned and smiled at him, but there were tears in her eyes. She wasn't the last of her kind. She was the key. The ship had no crew left, but it held memories, records of her people, maps, knowledge, technology. The voices of her ancestors were all saved within that ancient hardcore. Jace stood beside her as images played in the air, peaceful cities built into star systems, tiny engineers like Lena riding waves of energy inside ships, their race living. Not with machines, but as part of them. But the next images were darker. A warning. Experiments. Captures. Traders stealing them. Hunters calling them tools, not people. A history wiped out by greed. And then silence. Until now. Lena stepped away from the glowing crystal and looked up at Jace. She raised her hand and placed it on his chest. You saved me, she whispered. Jace knelt to her level. You saved me too. Lena touched the controls. And a new door opened within the old ship. Inside were small sleeping chambers, each built for someone her size, all empty, except one. A pod. Still sealed. They opened it together. Inside was another Zelini smaller than Lena, maybe a child. Still alive. Still breathing. Eyes closed. Jace stepped back. Lena fell to her knees and cried softly. It wasn't just a stranger. It was her sibling. She turned to Jace, shaking with emotion, and hugged his thumb tightly. They had found what was lost. Later, back on Rustwing. Jace watched Lena settle her sister in a warm spot near the power core. She would heal given time. Jace turned to the window. The stars outside no longer looked cold. Lena climbed onto his shoulder again. Where now? He asked. She pointed forward. He smiled. Still forward, huh? She nodded. Jace set a new course. They had no home behind them, but together they would build one ahead. And the girl who once lived locked in a parrot cage was now flying free. Forever.